questions. I mean, and it's like it being a shooting gallery, you know? I mean, and, oh, it's fun. I'll let you know the time. But it's fun because it's hard when you're there because you're trying to make it hurt and they go, well, what about this? And you're, and then you got to go back to your side because y'all, but they can just, I think it's going to be real interesting.
Meeting of the Caddo Parish Commission, regular session for December 7th. December 7th, 2023 at 3:30. Testing, testing. Can you hear? Okay.
Would you like me to go ahead and call roll?
Yeah. Yeah, you can call a roll.
Okay. Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Blake.
Here.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson. All right, I'm counting 10 of 12 members present. That does constitute a quorum.
Okay. We've had the invocation and pledge done in our committee meetings, so we'll forego that and go straight to agenda additions.
Okay, I am not aware of any agenda additions for today unless you have anything.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay. At this time, I would like to move to suspend the rules and remove resolution number 61 from the agenda.
Second.
Okay.
So
It's
there's
been
a-
moved and second. We can vote on that?
So this is a motion to suspend the rules at this time.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That now,
Yeah.
okay,
I'd like to.
did I understand the motion now stands to,
Yeah, the motion stand to remove the resolution from the agenda itself.
okay?
We can vote? Okay, Commissioner Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make sure that if I understood our resolution, you're proposing that we remove resolution number 61, which is dealing with the Red River Waterway Commission. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, let me explain. I
Okay.
should have done that when I made the motion. The reason we're removing this is because this particular position on the Red River Waterway Commission does not expire until 2026. We have a new governor that comes in, and when the new governor comes in, he normally, many times, will clear all boards and commissions. It's his discretion at that point. And at that time, it's my understanding from legal, and I spoke with the administration today, that would be a proper time in which to make a recommendation. But the Caddo Parish Commission has the opportunity and privilege to make recommendations to the governor on the board appointments to the Red River Waterway Commission. We have 2 commissioners who are on there now, 2 board members who are on there, and that's Mr. Bursa Clark, who's seated out there, and he's still on the board, on that board, and has been serving and has been coming to commission meetings. So if you wanted to have any questions, I'm sure he would answer them. The other one is Mr. Latier. We have not seen him at the time, and I put before you an email that our president at the time was John Atkins, who had requested him to come before the commission and give us an update. And at the time, he passed it off to the director. The director didn't come to give us an update. He sent an email kind of outlining what the commission does, but that's not what we requested. We asked him to come and give us an update so that we can ask questions, because we were dealing with some issues with the Red River at the time. So there was a discussion that ensued that we need someone that we could work with that would come if we asked. So that was what this was all about. But given the fact that we do have another governor that comes in, that's coming in, and the governor assigns the responsibility of the Red River Waterway Commission to the Secretary of Transportation. That's who's actually over it. And from there, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Transportation normally appoints somebody in his stead that comes and work with the chairman of the Red River Waterway Commission. And that's how that is the hierarchy of that. So we will not be dealing with that at this time. So since
Thank you,
we've
sir.
already, since we've already made the motion and it's removed, then, Mr. Clerk, we can go on.
Okay. If you'll cast your votes.
Okay, I guess we can vote?
Yes, sir. Looks like I'm just waiting on Commissioner Gage Watson Jackson. Okay, and that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent.
Move to return it to regular session.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and second to return back into regular session. We can vote?
Commissioner Johnson and Jackson, it looks like it's not registered your votes. You could enter this. Thank you. And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition. That brings us now to citizens' comments.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Getting, I got information that we're not being heard on stream, so I don't know what they need to do in the back.
If,
Okay.
I'm talking into my microphone.
Yeah.
I'm saying people that's watching this, they cannot hear. There's no sound. I'm not talking about people in the audience. I'm talking about people that's online.
Yep, please,
thank you.
see if you can address that,
Thank you for sharing
please.
that, and I do see that someone has gone into the control room to make sure that they are aware of that. So we will try to make that modification to the streaming equipment to make sure that
Thank you.
gets out there.
But the audience you can hear.
No, because you're not speaking into your mic.
Man,
And the whole
that's bad.
conversation, I asked Martin what he was saying.
But you just answered the question, so you heard what he said.
What, excuse me?
She answered the question, so she had to hear you.
Yeah, well, okay, but you all in the back, can you hear me? Okay, all right.
Great.
Okay,
Would you like me to proceed with citizens' comments?
that would be fine.
Okay, thank you. Citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and return those to the box to my left here so that I can get them to the president. And individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. We have received at this point several requests for public comments that have already been shared with President Bro.
Okay. The first citizen that we'll be calling up would be Miss Nancy Treadwell.
Hi, I'm Nancy Treadwell, and I live in Shreveport, 71105.
Okay,
Thank
you
you
have
for allowing
three-
me to speak and for
We have
serving.
3 minutes. Welcome, Ms. Treadwell.
Thank you. I want to tell you about my concerns about the food distribution on Election Day and concerns about how the election in general is being discussed amongst the commission. The reason this matters to me is no public money should be used to influence any election. No event should impede a polling location, be it a group of people, a line of cars, or any obstruction. And that as commissioners, your words influence our community. Yesterday, I listened to your Tuesday's work session, and I found helpful information, such as the date of the October distribution was made by the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank. and the distribution locations were moved away from the polling places. And also there were some interesting election statistics given. I appreciate that. But instead of hearing other positive discussions, I heard blame, and that made me very concerned. Louisiana has over 300 pages of election code. Every legal vote should be counted, and polling places should be safe, and public funds shouldn't be used in any way to influence an election. In my opinion, public officials should follow these laws both in the literal sense and understand how perception does matter in the way that the public views the fairness of elections. So when I heard some of you imply that even outright say that to question the wisdom of the food distribution on an election day had a racial motivation or showed callousness towards hungry people, I couldn't help but take that personally. I was actually a little shocked, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I'm just a plain old citizen who loves her community, and I don't take politics personally usually, but I did feel that way yesterday because I care about the community, I care about hungry people, and so to hear some of your discussion, was personally hurtful. Some of you even said that the recount and subsequent lawsuit was unfair, that the election was already won fair and square. But we have election laws for exactly this situation, that each candidate owes it to their constituents to follow the letter of the law in representing the voters. And so when there were 50 votes that were proven illegal, it's not unfair to follow the law and have candidates pursue their day in court. And that's what's playing out now. The system's working. As a community, we must be able to speak about difficult issues without blame, to address race issues without implying racism, and to discuss differences of opinion without assuming the worst. I appreciate y'all, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Okay, I was just going to let you know that your time was up. I mean, it wasn't
Well,
just to keep an eye
my
on the
only
clock.
actual question about this direct thing was, at what time during the week before the election was the problem identified, and the food distribution, which I think is wonderful, by the way, was moved away from any polling location?
Well,
what time in the week, and how was that identified?
You can get with the administration because we cannot respond.
Okay.
We cannot
Who do I
respond.
speak to about it?
She can stick around too.
Right, if you like. He said that you can stick around too,
Oh, okay.
but you can get with the administration on that. Thank you. The next person up, next citizen up is Ms. Irma Rogers.
Skip her for right now. She parked. Oh, she's right there. Oh, okay. I hadn't seen her.
Welcome, Ms. Rogers.
Do I
State
need
your
my
name for the record, please?
Irma Rogers,
3 minutes.
1920 Michoud Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. President Burrell, Vice President Young, and all other commissioners assembled. First, I'd like to thank you for support of the Martin Luther King Community Development Corporation during the past few years. It is hard, sometimes, as small nonprofits to provide for things like extra summer help, which has been requested by the state superintendent. So your assistance with some of that does help when you run upwards of $25,000 to pay the tutors for 2 to 3 weeks. The other issue I'd like to address this evening is resolution number 67, resolution supporting the MLK Food Desert Project. Over the years, and I understand at your last meeting I could not be present, we have had several studies about not only indicating that MLK, Cooper Road, is a food desert, but how to alleviate some of these problems, revitalization, and economic development. The first study was done when Mr. Calvin Lester, we're talking about more than 15 years ago, was our city council person. Hurd, McElroy, and Vestal, they were called in to do that study. But the council said, since we haven't had and updated master plan since 1957, and it's in this master plan. And I'd like to read one excerpt before my time runs out. It is going to be 11.4. This is the original, which I gave 2 years of my life to help with. So this is everything we did from like 2009 to 2011. Over the years, as annexation and place, basic infrastructure was built, streets and paved for MLK. This is north of the city, Cooper Road area, now MLK, was semi-rural. At that time, you had gardens, you had a lot of other things, okay? That changed with annexation. Revitalization to this neighborhood, which were overpopulated at some times, has been marked and needed. It's in the master plan. So studies have been done. Studies have been being done for the last 12 to 15 years. I just want to give you some background on it. So if you need some, we can pull those original files if we have to, but this is from 2009 and 10. We desperately need a grocery store. Lomart's has been closed for several years, not 9 as the owner who has it now has said, but at least 4 to 5, there has ceased to be in existence for our community. We have dollar stores, but that's not complete and whole economic development. So I encourage you to support this resolution. It's for a large chunk of your city.
3 minutes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to extend a unanimous vote. Okay.
I have more time.
Yes. Got 3 more
Okay.
minutes.
I could not read all of this, but it is in 11.4. 11.4 is the original. This is the original in the draft that I bought. The smaller version is this, and there's a CD disc, which you have to have an older computer to run right now. But in the new version, online, it's page 11.5. You'll find the same information. It says Martin Luther King neighborhood has followed a somewhat different trajectory than many of the other historically African-American neighborhoods. The presence of Southern University as the availability of inexpensive land sparked creation of some middle-class subdivisions, and more recently, apartment developments. However, the MLK area has some of the same infrastructure problems and housing blight as the inner core neighborhoods. For different reasons, historically, white inner core neighborhoods such as Highland also experienced some of the disinvestment. The post-World War II move from the city center to more suburban locations are more attractive to some families. Just for a background, and we do have a couple of 2 or 3 locations, and there's something else coming in to our neighborhood, another, what you would call gated community on Audrey Lane that's already in progress. So there are rooftops. My information had recorded only about 700 housing starts. Information from Mrs. Moore's office had more than 900 new housing starts within our neighborhood since 2007 and 8. So that lets you know there is a population there. However, we do not have all of the amenities and conveniences that several other of our counterpart neighborhoods have. And generally, things go around our community and not into our community. If you look at the growth spurt of economic development that's hitting Blanchard right now, Blanchard is up past us, but that is not coming into MLK. So we're looking for specifics. We've done the homework, we've done the training, we do understand what you're talking about in terms of economic development and being economically available to sustain this. So that's why I'm speaking up for this particular resolution. It's been several years. We're looking forward to new developments. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Next person up is John Settles.
John Settle, 4 Tealwood. I think I was in Mr. Young's district, but now I'm in Mr. Burrell's district.
Okay, we
so
have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm glad that the resolution 61 was withdrawn because legally it was defective, very much so. Mr. Letier's term ends in 2027. Mr. Clark's term ends January 18th. after we have a new governor. The statute says very clearly that y'all can recommend people to that. One, if an office is vacant. It's not vacant. Mr. Latier is still alive, functioning, going to meetings. And if you read their minutes, he's very diligent. The same with Mr. Clark. Secondly, no terms have expired. So the very basis legally of that was totally defective. You've had other people here that you wanted to come speak to the commission, and they didn't come. And I was disappointed, whether it was a registrar or the sheriff or other people. The motive of trying to penalize a board member for not coming here, I think, was improper. But the biggest problem with that resolution is that your president does not have unilateral power to make recommendations to boards. If there's a vacancy, the procedure y'all have always followed is to ask citizens to volunteer, ask y'all to make recommendations, and then you go through a vetting process. It was a total abuse of power for the president to make a recommendation and get you to pass that without participation. I'm glad good government has prevailed. I'm glad that common sense and legal reasoning prevail with your president. And since I'm here, I hope that my comments will be heard and recorded so that they will not be attributed things that I have not said that other people in the media have said. And it's been so much fun. Thank you.
It's always fun to have you.
Good that you follow
Okay.
along.
Okay, we'll go from here and move on with the meeting. Ms. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to visitors. We do not have scheduled visitors today, so we can move forward to adopting regular session minutes. Under this section today, you do have your regular session minutes, but also included are the minutes of your special session from December 5th. So just wanted to call that out to you.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson and second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson.
I want to englobo and adopt the regular session minutes November 22nd and the special session minutes on December 5th.
Okay. It's been moved in second, so we can vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us to special resolutions now. You have 2 special resolutions on your agenda today. I don't believe these people are here to receive them in person, but they are attached.
One's on the way.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think there's any reason to read them unless the sponsoring commissioner wants it done. You do have one? Okay.
Make a motion to adopt both of them, if I can get a second.
Okay. There's a motion by Commissioner Jackson and second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jackson? If not, Commissioner Chavez, you want?
Well, it'd be a substitute motion to Commissioner Jackson's to englobo and adopt both the special proclamations.
Okay, there's been a substitute motion to englobo and adopt both resolutions. Okay, and seconded by Commissioner Atkins. We can vote?
And that motion carries with 10 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent. And if it would be appropriate at this time, would you like me to go ahead and read?
Please stand.
Mr. Slater, please come up.
All right. At this time, we will be reading a special resolution of recognition and appreciation for Mr. Harold Sater. And it reads, whereas Mr. Harold Sater has dedicated himself and demonstrated an unwavering and selfless commitment to the betterment of Caddo Parish and its residents. And whereas Mr. Sater has served with distinction and honor in various capacities that have significantly contributed to the growth and prosperity of our community, including his exceptional service with the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission, the Southern Hills Business Association, and as a dedicated business owner and realtor. And whereas his tireless efforts, both as a business owner and as a realtor, have not only bolstered the local economy, but have also helped countless residents find their dream homes. And Mr. Sater's involvement with the Metropolitan Planning Commission and the Southern Hills Business Association have fostered community development and economic growth. Whereas his leadership, compassion, and dedication to public service have made him a respected figure in our community, admired for his wisdom, dedication, and vision for a better future. And whereas we cannot overlook the vital support and contribution of Mr. Sater's wife, Bev, who has been a pillar of strength and encouragement throughout his endeavors. Whereas it is fitting and proper that we express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the many years of devoted service that Mr. Harold Sater, along with the unwavering support of his wife, Bev, have given to Caddo Parish. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission that we extend our deepest appreciation and gratitude to Mr. Harold Sater and acknowledge the invaluable contributions of he and his wife, Bev, for their outstanding service to our community. Be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to Mr. Harold Sater and his wife, Bev, as a symbol of our heartfelt thanks and as a reminder of the impact that they have made on the lives of the residents of Caddo Parish. Be it finally resolved that this resolution be duly recorded in the official records of the Caddo Parish Commission and that copies be provided to Mr. Harold Sater for their personal archives.
Don't leave yet, guys. I'm not the only one I know that wants to say something to you guys, but I've been lucky enough to represent District 10 in Southern Hills for the last 8 years. As I roll off the board next month, there could be nobody else that I could think of that has made my job easier and allowed me to really serve the citizens of District 10 in Southern Hills other than you two. Harold, you've been a driving force, which is crazy to me because you don't even live in Southern Hills, but you care so much about this city that you were always the constant. You were, every time we did an early morning trash pickup, you were there. Every time we did a Christmas party at night, you were there. Every time we did anything that had to do with Southern Hills and to the betterment of Shreveport, you and Bev were there. And so I just wanted to make sure that before I rolled off this board that you guys got your flowers here today. And I know when I brought this forward, I wasn't the only commissioner that said that they wanted to, A, have their name on this resolution, and B, celebrate y'all. So you guys have really put a handprint on Shreveport, and I thank you guys for everything you've done for everybody.
Thank you. And thank all of you, because it takes the support of all of us to do it.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us now to communiques and committee reports, including administrative response to information requests from commissioners.
Okay, get on the board for anybody who has any communications. Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if this machine is working like it should. Y'all might want to come check it. But the Juvenile Services Committee had an opportunity to meet today, and we had a good discussion on what we can do to provide alternatives. I appreciate administration and appreciate Judge Casey Jones for coming over to provide insight. We think we have identified a solution for the short-term problem, and obviously there will be some more long-term solutions about actual detention space. But this is to identify a potential solution for those that are non-violent, more your truant, runaway, fins, those individuals. And so I think Judge Casey is happy with that, and it's progress. It's progress that they have been hoping for some time. And so that will be forthcoming at our next commission meeting, and we'll have some discussion on it as well. I also wanted to address the public comment. I can't sit here and have to make sure that we are being accurate because this is a public record. This is a public record, and this is a public forum. And citizens watch this, and, you know, it's serious when people come down and make certain statements. There was not any dollars used of public money to solicit for a campaign. No one solicited a vote. We work with the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank, and I don't want the folks at the Northwest Louisiana Food Bank to feel like they've done anything wrong. No one did anything wrong. The date was the date that they were able to manage this project. Mount Canaan had a food distribution that they have every second Saturday of the month. How do I know? Because I go over there and hand out food at the church every second Saturday of the month. And so that is funded because the Parish Commission gives an annual appropriation to the food bank, and they have food pantries all across town. Nobody was out using public dollars to promote an election or promote a candidate. And that is the type of misinformation and disinformation that gets put out there, and folks become cynical and jaded at public officials as if we've done something wrong. But I will go back to, again, what I said on Monday. I heard the criticism of the food distribution giveaway, but I have not heard any criticism of the tree pickup that was at St. Vincent Mall. That was actually a voting precinct. I have not heard any criticism of the pet adoption event that was sponsored by or co-sponsored by the parish. So why criticize the food distribution and not criticize all of it? But I'm not critical of any of it, because at neither one of the locations were people advocating for an election. We have a responsibility to serve our community, and we can't stop just because there's an election going on. We can't do that. And so I don't want it to be placed in the public record that the parish spent public money to promote a campaign. That's illegal. People can go to jail for that. And we shouldn't just be cavalier in saying those type of things. And if we're gonna put prohibitions on any of it, we have to put prohibitions on all of it. Let's not single out certain efforts. I don't want us to do that. This community was hit hard in June by a storm, and we plan to have 2 food box distributions in response. If the commission was going to support anything and use public money to support anything, we would have used our money to support the criminal justice millage in October. Erica can't say it, but I will. Why would we go out here and use money to support something that we don't have no vested interest in? But we had a vested interest in the proposition on October. And I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying if we were going to do something like that, we would have done it in October, when the parish commission would have benefited from it. We get no benefit at the outcome of the sheriff's election or any other of the elections that was on November 18th. So please, please do not put that out there in the atmosphere, because that is how people get cynical and jaded and upset and misinformed, thinking that public officials are corrupt or doing something wrong. That is not true. And I encourage you, during the next food distribution, come get in the line. I saw where the fire district, I don't see nobody criticizing the fire district. They posted great turnout. I don't know of anybody who turned in a food box. Everybody ran out. It was a good effort for this community that is struggling. Ms. Rogers just got up and talked about a food desert. There is a critical need in our community, and our responsibility is to address them. It just happened to be that there was an election on that day, and we did all that we could to move and accommodate for that election. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Commissioner Hopkins.
I just want to take this time to thank Mr. Wesley and the Parks and Recreation crew. We had Christmas on Caddo this past weekend, and they did a great job, as always. And so thank you, Mr. Wesley. Also, I did see that we were our first bids on the DOT project, which affects the scenic byway and Earl Williamson Park. They had the first bid, so it's not complete yet. But that's where we voted to pay 20% of that project. So things are moving along. And that's also by the help of Mr. Wesley, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Blake.
Thank you, President Burrell, for the opportunity to speak. And I would like to make comments in the same reference as Commissioner Jackson. I believe we need all of the comments made public record, and I think it's important that we don't deter citizens who take the time to come down and speak how they feel. That's why we have this online for people to see. That's why this is an open forum, and that have an opportunity to share their concerns. And so I appreciate her concerns being heard and her taking the time to stand up there and do that. It is a concern that I had. And I stated, again, at our work session, the same concerns. And I would like to state, I was unaware of a giveaway of animals and also a giveaway of reduced trees, I believe, is what we were doing. I was unaware of that. But I also made it clear from the beginning that before the food giveaway, which I too believe is exceptionally important, and I'm pleased that we do and hope that we will continue. My concern was that we were doing a food giveaway on an election day at polling locations and even in locations that you could see. And I made it clear then that I believe that we should not give anything away, not merely food. So I was surprised when I found out on Monday. And like I said, on Monday, I am new to the commission and I'm learning the ins and outs. And from now on, I will, when I have concerns, I will speak up sooner. I also want to say, this is not political, but when you say that we weren't allowing people that were to campaign or use funds, there are pictures of a candidate at a food giveaway. There's actually a short reel. So I think that when we say that there is, we're causing harm by allowing people to speak out, I think harm has been done by perceptions of what occurred. So the perception, once again, of doing something on election day occurred. And we cannot deny that. I also had concerns with blocking people from having access to vote. So it's not just about that. It's about people not having access to drives or because of the amount of cars getting in to vote. So I want to also, I want to thank the administration for getting the important information about Johnny Gray Jones and learning how that we can help the youth in our community in their time of need. And I'm looking forward to learning more for the long-term help that we can provide. And I want to thank Mr. Harold for all that he's done for our community. And what he provides is huge. Every year he does in his district, he does an economic open forum where everyone can come and promote what their business, and we can promote our government and all of the agencies that we have, and that is a huge, wonderful thing that he provides for us. So, thank you so much.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to also address Ms. Treadwell's concerns. I do not think that the parish had any ill intent in working with the food bank to distribute food on an election day. But I do think that we made a mistake. And that mistake was a mistake of the perception that is created by such an activity. The parish meant well, but although I was aware of the distribution occurring on election day, I was not aware of the proximity of the distribution sites to some polls. But to administration's credit, once some of us became aware of that issue, we reached out to Ms. Bryant. She worked to resolve those issues. I reached out to Commissioner Jones. He helped me to alleviate some of my concerns by relocating a distribution facility. Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Young also worked to reposition some distribution facilities. So again, there was no ill intent, but it created a bad perception, and that was a mistake, and I hope that we can avoid those mistakes in the future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question to administration. Were any of the food distribution locations at a polling site on election day?
Commissioner, I was not aware. I was told that fire number 4, Commissioner Lazarus District, was actually a polling location. When we inquired at the time, we thought that it was not. We inquired, should we host it there, and they said it was not an issue and we could go forward with that location.
All right,
but
so
we did change the other 2 that were brought to our attention.
So out of the 9 food
10
distribution spots, there was only 1.
Yeah, 10 locations. There was 1 that I was made aware after the fact.
Okay. So just looking at the numbers and the facts, if you have 10 locations and 1 was at a polling location, and at that polling location, they had no problems. You also look at the voting percentage. It was less than 30%, 29%. So food did not drive people to go vote. If it did, the percentage would have been much higher. If you are in line like they were on election day, and the 9 o'clock spots, I had people in line 7 o'clock, some at 6:30. There wasn't a deal of I'm going to get some food and then I'm going to vote. They was going to get the food, put the food home, take it home, and then if they decided to vote, they voted that day, or they voted early, or they didn't vote at all. We didn't ask nobody, well, in order to do this, you have to vote. No. They came through, they got the boxes, they went home. Because you want to get that food home as soon as possible. So I think this is just another spin that came from a certain group of people, and it has went viral of basically saying the food distribution has caused an issue with this election. It had nothing to do with the election. If we had been doing anything else, when we have a millage, or anybody has a millage, and they have people on the street, and they pass out cards about the millage, or whatever they're trying to do on the government level, that's different, because that's somebody on the street pushing for a millage. It doesn't come from this office, but it comes from people who volunteer to work to push a millage either in favor or against it. They do it all the time. So that doesn't drive people out to vote, typically, unless it's a whole bunch of taxes they don't want to vote for. But this was basically saying that we had allocated 2 food giveaways before the end of the year because of the storm. And this just so happens fell on election day. There was no intention of bribing people to go vote and get a box. It was strictly helping the citizens of Caddo Parish. And so to come up and I feel bad about this, or we did this wrong, we need to don't do this again, stop this. I mean, because it did not impact, none of these locations but 1 was at a polling location. And I haven't heard anybody from Caddo District 4 come up here and said that there was a problem for them voting. They had to maneuver around traffic. They had to do anything. Nobody. And we've had people come talking from all over town. But nobody has said anything about Caddo District 4 and that being the only one that was a polling place. The rest of them were far away from it. So I don't understand why it's such a big deal. Now, had the election went in a different direction, guess what? We wouldn't even be talking about it because nobody would be down here talking about it. So basically, let's just move forward with what we do. It was a good idea. It happened. You know, I proposed having the early voting location at the fairgrounds, and I was told, "Oh no, we can't do that. That put certain people at an advantage and a disadvantage on other people." No, it doesn't, because you can come from anywhere in Caddo Parish to go cast your vote anywhere doing early voting. It's not particular to a neighborhood. It's anywhere you want to go. So I just get tired of hearing it, and it hampers the progress of our parish, because you got to think about the business owners, headquarters, corporate offices. They sit and listen to this stuff. They hear it, and they be like, why would we want to move to Caddo Parish when they have so much unrest? So we got to stop doing it, and it starts with leaders, you know. So we got to stop that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a huge advocate of citizens coming down, expressing their right to vote, right to speak and to be heard. You have every right to come down to speak, but you have a responsibility to be accurate and tell the truth. That is all of our responsibility, and we shouldn't take that lightly. And what I'm saying is, just because you have the right to come down and speak, I'm an advocate for you to do that, but be accurate in what you are saying. That was an insurrection in this country based and born out of misinformation. People are living on the edge based on misinformation. And what I'm saying is we shouldn't do that. And we have to recognize our responsibility to having factual and accurate information put out here. And what is being said is that the parish paid and has put money out for food distributions to support the election, or we gave out food to help push a campaign or push an election. The parish didn't do that. It was said that the parish illegally gave out food. That's what was said. It's in the record. We can rewind the tape back. I didn't interrupt you when you spoke. It's my time. We have a responsibility to the public. You can't just run out and yell fire in a crowded theater. That's irresponsible. And that's what I'm saying, Commissioner Blake. That's all I'm saying. I welcome people coming to that podium. I give everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say when it's their turn to say it. Because that's what we have the 3 minutes for. But you have to be accurate when you come to that podium, because it's powerful. And as elected officials, it's our responsibility to make sure that we are reinforcing what is accurate to the people. It's our responsibility to come back and say, no, that's not what happened. No, that's not the truth. Let me break it down to you. And that's a huge burden to have to carry sometimes, because I get people who come to me and ask, why we doing this, why we doing that? And I have to take the time to educate them so that they can understand what we do down here. So please, as we go forward, as you start your term in public service, know that that's going to happen. But we have a bigger responsibility to make sure that folks are getting accurate information and that they are relying on accurate information, because I can tell you, sometimes it can be scary out there the way people think. And people truly think sometimes that Erica Bryant got the safe up there and we going in there reaching out, grabbing the cash. And that's just not true. And it starts with little bits and pieces of misinformation, and it grows, and that's why I feel it's important, that responsibility is important. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, we have Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to remind everyone about the My Community Cares of Finding Hope When Things Look Hopeless Parent Cafe tonight at A.B. Palmer Park, 547 East 79th Street. That starts at 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Please keep in mind that child care is provided, so if you have small children, they will help you with that so that you can come and get those resources that are available to you tonight. I tried to contact Ms. Bennett to see if she had already filled up all her spots, but I think there were 15 spots available. So even if you are not interested in attending, if you know a parent that needs this opportunity to be able to come and vent and sit with other parents in like situations like them, please make sure that the information gets out. Again, that's at A.B. Palmer Park tonight from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Also want to thank our Juvenile Justice Chairman and Committee for getting together and to seek solutions. Thank you, Mr. Randall, Judge Reed Casey Jones, and others for getting together to seek solutions to make sure that the young people, who need safe haven at this time from whatever that they're dealing with can find that where need be in the short term. And I pray that we work diligently for the little guaranteed time I know I have left to make sure that we do what we can to solve this problem, because it is going to be an ongoing problem. My grandmother used to always say, God loves babies and fools. And we got to take care of the babies. We got to take care of the children. That's what we're responsible for and what we've been called to do. And so many times we like to get on social media and just talk about how bad this generation is and these kids. But what are we really doing to make sure that they have what they need and to guide them the right direction? We cannot blame the sheep for going astray because they don't know better. They're children. They're growing up. So we have to help those who don't know better and, challenge each other to be the parents and responsible adults that we need to be to make sure that our children are going the way they need to go. I have family members who are, parents as well. And if I see something that needs to be addressed, I don't mind telling my cousin or whomever, hey, you got to do something about that. I'd rather do it then than have to go pick them up from Good Samaritan or, preach their funeral. So I'd much rather catch it on the front end than have to deal with it on the back end. And I don't think that's a bad thing to do, to hold each other accountable in that respect. So let's work hard to make sure that we find long-term solutions to make sure that juvenile justice has what it needs to be able to carry out their duties. I want to say this. I was born and raised here in Caddo Parish, and boy, it's hard here some days. It's hard because I don't think, sometimes I don't think we really want to find a medium. I think everybody likes their side. This is where I am. And that's crazy because I don't think it's a secret. I'm a man of faith. But I can't find a Republican or Democrat in the Bible. Can't find them. Just can't. And we just become so dug in on our side of the aisle that some of us just forget common sense solutions and common sense conversations and courteous conversations. We just get so upset about how we feel, and we believe this is the absolute truth, even when it may not be true. But because that's what we want to believe, we've conditioned ourselves to believe that what we're saying is the only way, and it may not be. Something that I've had to learn as I've grown older is the more I listen, the more I can gain accurate and correct information. And I've also been given a spirit of discernment, so I can tell when somebody's just throwing something at me. But I still need to take the time to listen to what someone else has to say. Now, everybody's in disarray behind this election. You got a right to feel how you want to feel. But we have to make sure that whatever we're saying is correct, because there are some people who are going to be voting for the presidential primary and all other kind of stuff. We just keep throwing in, inaccurate information out there. Folks are being led astray because we want what we want, and it's really not right. You think you're doing the right thing, but if you believe like you say you believe, you know you shouldn't lead people down the wrong path. I don't care which candidate you supported. Now, I want to say this. I saw the same reel you saw, Commissioner Blake. If I'm a candidate in an election, which I have been more than once, all right, I'm going wherever people are. That does not mean that Parish orchestrated it for me to be able to do it that way. So woe unto whatever candidate chose not to use that method. They could have used it. They don't have to. But I would have. If I knew a concert was going on at Fairgrounds Field on election day and had nothing to do with the food distribution, I'm showing up at that concert and I'm asking to get on the mic because I want people to hear and see me. That is just politics. That is politics. Feeding people who are hungry is not politics. What you have done for the least of these, you have done unto me. That's morality. That is not politics. Now, whatever you felt came out of that, you have a right to believe. You have that right to believe that. That doesn't necessarily make it true, though. That does not necessarily make it true. My prayer is that a quick solution is coming to all of this so that we can move forward. If y'all can give me another minute, 30 seconds, I promise I have nothing else to say today. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and second to.
We need to move forward as a parish, because let me tell you this. However this ends up shaking out, there are a lot of young adults getting ready to bolt out of here. Whether it's Nicholson or Whitehorn, they're going to leave. Why? Still aren't any good paying jobs? I'm just telling you what they're telling me, because it's my generation. Still aren't any good paying jobs. They don't trust the leadership. They don't believe in the voting system before this election, because they always feel like people are going to find a way to make it work the way they want it to work. And a lot of folks are tired of living in the same conditions that we saw when we were children. That's what made me get in public service, because there's no reason why I should still be flooding in the district that I still live in. You needed a boat in Cedar Grove when I was 9, and you still need a boat in Cedar Grove, and I'm 38 when it rains. That's why people are tired. They won't change. They're tired of this infighting, and oh my God, every time we turn around, it's a problem. But we're not fixing anything. We're not doing anything because we refuse to come together. Because you're red and I'm blue. What difference does it make? Because it doesn't matter if I'm a Republican or Democrat, I'm going to tear up my front end on some of these streets around here, no matter how you vote. Doesn't matter. And I can promise you, when you stand before him at the pearly gates, he's not going to ask you what your political affiliation was. Did you know me? For my self-righteous people, it ain't you being a red or blue ain't got nothing to do with you being a Christian. It's the way you live. So we got to stop all of this foolishness and find real solutions to get stuff done, and stop coming down here pointing a finger at one another. Because no matter what happens at the end of this, people are going to leave if we don't stop playing these games that we've been playing for over 40 years. And I say this and I'm done. Let me remind you that juvenile justice has been at a deficit longer than I've been living. But we couldn't fix that at the last election because it became a political issue. Longer than I've been living. So let's get it together. Let's stop all of that and put accurate information out. Even if you don't agree with it, don't twist the truth to make your point right. Either tell the truth or be quiet. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Gage Watts.
It was still some meat on that bone, Mr. Preacher. I'm gonna take it from here.
Do what you gotta do. I'm done.
You know, Lord, give me strength. Keep my voice. We fed thousands of households due to a disaster, as you heard, that was not intentional by man. It couldn't have been planned. We stepped up to the plate to address an issue, a need, to stand up to our greatest call. And that is first, to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Caddo Parish. That's our responsibility. It's not an option. Did you know that there's a public health crisis in Caddo Parish? And it has nothing to do with a storm? Not the kind that you're probably thinking about anyway. It's about crime. We're leading in crime. Mothers are having to continually bury their children because of crime, because of illegal weapons on the street, irresponsible gun owners, people who leave their car doors open and they're in the hands of children, mothers, empty seats, broken hearts. Yes, I do want you to talk. I do want you to come down here. Every seat in this government plaza should always be filled with people because we got a problem. And it should be so many that they encourage us, inspire us, or ask us to be removed from our seats until we can address them properly. That's our responsibility. We should all be convicted that all communities don't look the same. That should be a greater conversation, except for one about voting and how the democracy is that we all believe in. I do believe that we pledge allegiance to this flag because we believe in this democracy, but all of a sudden, this is the same democracy that doesn't work. What's so different? And why are we so afraid to say what it really is? Call it out. Silence is violence. This is adamant racism, and it's not funny. These are the same group of people who came down when the monument removal was on the agenda. You're pushing the same agendas, and you're hiding behind the wrong cross, because that's not who our Jesus is. He's real, and he cares about everyone. So yes, please keep coming down. We want to represent you correctly. But let's do it in decency and honesty. Thank you, Mr. President.
All righty then, let's see. Commissioner Blake for the second time.
Thank you, President Burrell, and I'm going to follow Stormy's words because I believe that those were wonderful words and exactly why it's important that we need to ask everyone to come down and speak, because we are representing everybody in the community and we are seeing terrible violence. Everything you said about that I cannot disagree with. And so for me, as a leader, it's important that I will continue to state the same thing. This was about perception. This was not about the individual candidates. It became about the candidates because of the perception, okay? And so I will continue to say that we have the ability to make decisions that the community can gain trust in this community again and the leadership of Caddo Parish and the city of Shreveport in making decisions that are right. And the right decisions are the hard decisions to make. And it's the hardest thing to do is to be a leader and to speak out on something that is very important to speak out about, and that is protecting our voting and our elections. And our community right now does not trust its leadership. And I believe it is because of us making decisions that are not helpful. And John Atkins said it perfectly. What we did was important, and we should continue to help our community. We should continue to work with the food bank. However, we should not do it on an election, and we should not do it near a polling. And saying one hand the importance of giving away food and being in politics, and that it's what is done, I totally disagree with. I gave food away the first time when I was running for this seat, and I showed up not in anything representing that I was running. And this time, I stood back because I was not okay with giving away food on election day out of concern for blocking people from having access to vote. I don't know about District 4 and any issues of people getting to their polling place. I just know where the food giveaway is in my district, and if we had held it where it was originally located, we would have had 300 cars blocking an entrance to a very small area to vote. And so we should never, on election day, do something that could cause the perception of electioneering, nor should we do anything that would deter people from voting, because we do need change for this community. Commissioner Gage Watts, we need change immediate. Stephon Jones, because we are losing our youth. My daughter does not live here and will never return. I have a son who I'm praying will find a wonderful job in this community and stay, because this is where I live. My friends are hoping for the same. That is why I ran for this seat, and I will continue to do what's right, and I will speak out when there's something that needs to be spoken out about, as hard as it is. And I don't want to be repetitive, so I hope that is the last time I have to say that. I appreciate your words, and I will take them into consideration to take the time to get all the information, but I did not speak anything untrue. Our guest that spoke said it was perception, and she told how she felt. It is important that we listen to how everyone feels, even if it is wrong or if it is right. We have to listen to how people feel. So I will once again say, I hope that we never as a commission give away anything on election day. Thank you. Commissioner, President Burrell.
Okay, Commissioner Young for the first time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just get back to parish business briefly. I would like to make a quick request of Director Clark. You don't need to come up with advice from our legal team. We had an event a few weeks ago in my district on Atlantic Avenue where a short-term rental was rented out to some people who had a rowdy party and then shot up the building. And bullets went into the house next door. It was very alarming for the people who lived there. It was a children's bedroom that was shot up next door. It appeared that the rule for short-term rentals that they had written did not have a clear scheme for revoking a license for a short-term rental when it had been the site of a crime like that. And I just wanted to make sure that we get a process moving to make sure or amend our short-term rental rule that we just passed. I think it was in our last meeting, so that we have a revocation protocol in place should this happen somewhere in the parish. So, thanks. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Jones for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Forgive me, everyone, I lied. I got more to say. Yeah, you know, Baptist preachers, it's the first time we say we're closing is not really the first time. So, I want to be clear, okay?
Try to watch our timeline because we're gonna have to move on. I'm just saying, just watch your timeline on it, it's fine. Now, you see the, go ahead on.
I mean, because
No, let me explain that because it's not to offend. It's that we have 7 minutes. Is that correct?
That's correct, and they're gonna need to reset his time.
And you have to reset your time.
They need to reset it to 7.
Since I've stopped you, you have to reset your time. So I was just putting that in so that we can kind of stay on schedule. You have your opportunity the second time to speak, and everybody has. So reset his time to 7 minutes. Okay, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not gonna get too much back and forth anymore, but I just want to make sure that it's clear. If I am a candidate in an election and there's a public event that allows me to make an appearance, which is what that candidate did, I'm gonna show up. That is politics. That is running in an election. That's how that goes. You make sure that you make yourself as visible as possible so people can see you. That does not mean what I am clarifying, whether you chose to do that or not, was your choice. What I am clarifying is that does not mean that the parish of Caddo was in conjunction with that particular candidate. That candidate acted on their own. So that's what needs to be clear, okay? And I hope everybody's understanding what I'm saying. That candidate has a right to show up and do whatever they want to do. That does not mean that the parish was affiliated with that candidate in doing what they chose to do as a candidate, okay? So had that been done by the other candidate, I wouldn't have said anything because that's what you do as a candidate. You make yourself visible, okay? Another thing, this fine gentleman that's sitting next to me called me and asked me to move my distribution location because it was at a polling site. Okay? I understood where he was coming from, and he'll tell you that the only pushback I gave him about it had nothing to do with the whole perception deal. It was where we have the distribution at A.B. Palmer has cars all the way down 79th, and it's already a narrow street. All right, I hate Mr. Versa Clark is gone because he can testify to that. And where I wanted to have it at Woodlawn would have given us a lot more space to be able to move cars in and out a lot faster, well away from the other side from the polling location. It had nothing to do with votes. And because I still live in Cedar Grove, where I was born and raised, I know most of the people coming through my line. And I can promise you, a great bit of folks who came through their food distribution line did not go vote. I can promise you that because I know my people, because they're my neighbors. They're the people who have helped raise me. They're the people that I grew up with. I know them. Been knowing them my whole life. I can't tell you what to say about your district, but I literally live where I represent. It's always been that way. So I know the folks that were coming through my line. I know what their state of mind was. The last thing they were thinking about was going to vote. They wanted their free turkey, their box, and they wanted to go back, sit under the tree, and relax. So if you're from where I'm from, you know where I'm going with it. They were not going to go vote. That may not have been the case in other places. I don't know. But they were not going to go vote. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to do things correctly and make sure. I understand that perception is reality, but when you have an opportunity to bring clarity to perception, you do so. Now, I'm not I'm not asking everybody to agree with me, but what I am asking everybody to do is to take the time to be open-minded to hear what others have to say and not be so closed-minded that when someone states their level of perception or their reality, that you're not even willing to listen to it. Because, that's not what it is. That's not how dialogue works. That's not how healthy dialogue works. When she came up, I listened to every word she had to say. I know because I can clarify the fact that the court paperwork says 11 illegal votes were counted, not 50. That's how I know, because I listened to everything she said. We can pull the minutes. You may not have meant to say it, but 50 rolled off your tongue. Because I was listening. And it was 11. That's exactly what was printed. That's what's in the court proceedings. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. I didn't think so. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watts, the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is my last time. I'm so glad that we are all on one accord, and we know that so many of these polling locations that we're talking about is in the city of Shreveport that we often don't claim in Caddo Parish. So I'm so glad that we have all agreed that this is a problem across Caddo. So this is a Caddo Shreveport expanded problem. And as a constituent, I'm very ashamed of what we're doing right now. But as a leader, I'm equally ashamed but proud, because I am not going to let a date on the calendar ruin the gifts of food that we were able to provide for so many households for Thanksgiving. And we have wore perception out today. We have. But let's go on a little further since we in there. Perception could put you in someone else's shoes. And so that's where I want to stand right now. I will feel hurt and embarrassed that I have caused this much confusion because I was hungry. Let that sink in.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been serving on this commission 13 years, and one thing I can say is with local government, people don't care about you being a Republican or being a Democrat. When they call with a problem, they want something resolved one way or the other. Either you can do it or you can't do it. All this policy of what the Republicans believe, what the Democrats believe, that need to be left outside the door. And the main thing should be, how can we help the citizens of Caddo Parish do better, quality of life? How can we bring better jobs here? How can we change the perception of Caddo Parish, that people will want to come here and not leave? We talking about perception of what happened on election day. Well, let's talk about the perception of Caddo Parish as a whole of why people are leaving. You know, that's the bigger picture right there. That's the biggest fish we need to be worried about, is the perception of why people are leaving. When you go back and look at Charlotte, North Carolina back in the 80s, it was referred to as a sister city of Shreveport. They had about 300,000 people. You look at Charlotte now, it's 1 million people there. 1 million. And Shreveport and Caddo Parish right now is barely at 200,000 people. It's 190 something. Something is wrong. And we have to stop doing all this party affiliation that drives what we do and what we say. There's no one commissioner that sits on this horseshoe can stop anything from happening. It takes 7 votes to make something happen or something not happen. So if you have a feeling that, well, I don't want to do that, well, vote no. And don't put a distribution site in your district. Other than that, if you have 7 or more that say they want to do it, it's going to happen, whether you like it or not. And we can sit and talk, well, y'all can sit and talk about it all the next 4 years. But it takes 7 votes. I like to keep things real. I don't like to go all the way and how I feel about this or feel like that. That doesn't matter. It's about what's real. And right now, our population is dwindling, crime is high, and we have issues about how we help people. Doesn't matter. Help people that need help, because Caddo is as strong as its weakest link. And if that link is real weak, Caddo weak. You can't go around it. I don't care what you build on the other side. There are no domes around any neighborhoods. They put up gates, but it's not a dome. So people can go through a gate, they can go around the gate, they can go over a fence. There's nothing that can stop somebody because we don't stay in domes. So I'm just gonna ask y'all in the next year, leave the party affiliations outside the door. That's all I got, Mr. President.
Okay. Well, I've given pretty much everybody opportunity to do it the second time around. I'm going to make some final comments here, and I'll stay within my 7 minutes and less. But we talked about misinformation. I think there was some misinformation that was given out today, and it was basically directed toward me. And it was on the resolution 61 that had to do with the filling of the seat on the Red River Waterway Commission. There was some misinformation put out because the statement was made that the president of the commission made a unilateral recommendation for a board appointment. For all of you that's on this commission knows that when boards when board appointment comes up, we all have an opportunity to make a recommendation. That is not called unilateral. It was 2 weeks from the time that I made that one recommendation, in which I have made a recommendation to a board in the whole 4 years that I've been here. That was the first one that I made. So nobody can accuse of me of hogging the board appointment. Most of these have been done by many of you. I have not. I made that recommendation because the person was qualified. And as I understood it at the time, that we could make a recommendation that when the governor comes in, chances are he's going to I guess open up the commissions and the boards, and that person will be available. But I pulled it off so it won't be a lot of dissension. As president of this commission, I've tried to keep everything at a level state and not cause a lot of commotion. That's just my management style. The second thing that was stated, well, it wasn't stated in here, but I received an email in which many of you received that same email on a publication saying that I was trying to get rid of one of the other board members on the commission, Mr. Versa Clark, and he showed up today. I had to try to talk to him and say that was misinformation. His name has never come up among the commissioners nor myself. He was the one who replaced me on the Red River Waterway Commission, in which I was not forced out. The senator made a recommendation to the governor that because I got elected, that he would like to replace it. That's all it was. It wasn't no forced nothing. And the governor himself called me after he recognized that I shouldn't have been taken off because it wasn't a violation of the law. So that is misinformation. Now, those are the two things that I'm going to address that has to do with that. I got 4 minutes. On the food giveaway, I was vilified personally and attacked personally that I was giving away food for votes. The administration did a yeoman's job in moving my feeding site from 2 locations where they had voting and moved it to a 3rd site. I had it at Billsbury Park, which was a voting site. I had it at Galilee initially as a voting site. And after she found out that that was the case, she said, well, look, we need to move it somewhere else. So we wound up having it at Sunrise, where Pastor Andrew, he is minister. So we had it there, and we had a successful food drive. Now, the other issue appeared that caused some heartburns is that since it happened to be on election day, we never thought about it, but since it happened to be on election day, some of those that were passing out food, so you know it's election day, y'all need to get out and vote. They used that as a partisan criticism that you shouldn't tell people to go vote. You're not telling people who to go vote for. You just say you have a civic responsibility to go vote. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Each one of you as commissioners should be telling people to go and vote. We are one of the worst nations in the world in terms of voting. We should be asking them to exercise their, their democratic responsibility and civic responsibility. Now, again, going back to this perception many times in the eyes of the person who see it. This perception that we were giving away food was in this particular election was based upon where you stood politically. Nothing else. You know, and I think that sometimes we get into, everything is so divided now, and everything is so partisan now, and everything seems to be more racial now than it was when I first got this report 40-some years ago. And let me tell you, it was tough then. It's even worse now. I don't understand that. Because we've worked through a lot of task force and organization. I've been a part of a lot of black-white task force and trying to bring races together. But one thing I will not do, I will not see something that is black and white and don't call it what it is. From my perspective, let's put it that way. It may not be from everybody's, but that is what I see. I've lived long enough to see it. I've lived long enough to have been affected by it. So, again, I don't think anyone here on this dais doesn't have a relationship with each other. And we don't and we don't fight just to fight. We fight for our constituency, whatever that constituency is. And I hope we will continue to do it going forward. I got 27 minutes left, and I'm going to give that back to the public. Thank you.
Second. Okay. And I take it that is your president's report, correct?
That's my president's report.
Just wanted to make sure. We have no public hearing on zoning ordinances scheduled today, so we'll move forward to a public hearing on general ordinances, where you do have 3 items today. The first item is a public hearing on ordinance number 6398 of 2023. And Mr. Chair, would you like me to read all 3 and then open one public hearing?
That would be good.
Okay. That's a public hearing for ordinance number 6398 of 2023, an ordinance to accept the streets in Northwood Trace Subdivision Unit 7, New Territory Unit 4A, and New Territory Unit 5 into the Parish of Caddo system, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Those are in District 1. The next item is a public hearing for ordinance 6399 of 2023. That is an ordinance to close and abandon a portion of the dedication for Laura Lee Lane located in sections 28 and 29, Township 21 North, Range 16 West in the Parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto, also in District 1. And the third item today is a public hearing for ordinance number 6400 of 2023. That's an ordinance to deem property surplus and authorize the sale of surplus property owned by the Parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. And that item attached does include some changes that were made during your work session.
Okay, the floor is open for this public hearing. Anyone who is here to speak for or against any of these can come forward at this point. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Okay, that brings us then to ordinances for final passage consideration of those that we just had public hearings for. The first item to consider is ordinance number 6398 of 2023. That is an ordinance to accept the streets in Northwood Trace Subdivision Unit 7, New Territory Unit 4A, and New Territory Unit 5 into the Parish of Caddo system, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
A motion by Commissioner Hopkins and second by Commissioner John Paul Young. Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'd like to englobo ordinance number 6398, 6399, 6400 to approve and adopt.
Okay, motion to englobe all those. We can, okay, well, Commissioner Young seconded. We can vote?
Commissioner Jackson, it looks like it didn't register your vote. There we go, thank you. And that motion carries with 10 in support, 1 in opposition. And that brings us, we have no zoning ordinances for introduction today, but we do have an ordinance for introduction by title today for general ordinances, and that is Ordinance 6402 of 2023. That's an ordinance implementing an ad valorem tax exemption for first responders and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That was introduced by Commissioner Jackson. It was subsequently heard in the long-range planning meeting today, and will be featured for a public hearing at your next regular session. That brings us now to work session minutes, where you have your attached the minutes from your December 4th work session.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jackson. Okay, we can vote.
Thank you. And that motion carries with 11 in support and 1 out of the chambers. That brings us now to resolutions, where 18.2 is the first item to be considered. That is Resolution 64 of 2023. That's a resolution to authorize the Caddo Parish Administrator to request and authorize the Louisiana State Mineral and Energy Board and the Office of Mineral Resources to accept nominations and advertise for oil, gas, and mineral leases, accept bids and award and execute oil, gas, and mineral leases on certain mineral interests owned by the Parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 7.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'd like to move and go and adopt ordinance number.
Resolution.
I'm sorry, thank you. Resolution number 64. I'm sorry, 64, 65. Is there any objection to 67?
I'll speak to it.
Okay, 67. You can speak to it if you want to, but 67 and approve the appointments and accept the alcohol and beverage hearing committee report.
Point of order on the appointments.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
On the old appointments that were never filled or reappointed, are you saying that these should be reappointed, or?
That is how they were on your agenda. Yeah, so they were
Okay.
advanced here
So
to have
if you,
these.
I would like to amend the motion to take that piece out and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So taking out the whole appointment piece or just the old appointment?
The old appointments.
Just old appointments.
And
only.
let us make a motion on that separately.
So is this, let me just make sure I understand, is this the first of the year appointments, the 2023 end of the year appointments, or the old appointments at the bottom? Okay.
Only the old.
Okay, and now that actually doesn't, that old appointments headline is meant to reference those in that first section. After that, starting with Peggy Heacock, which is the Citizens Disaster Response Committee, those appointments below that are not meant to be in that same section. Do you?
They're new.
We don't have that.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to make
Yeah.
a separate motion.
The ones that don't have a date.
So
by.
I can make a motion to keep the ones at the top and then worry about the ones that are the Citizen Disaster Response, the Children Youth Planning Board, and the Charter Review. That'll happen next term.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just
Thank
take.
you for clarifying
I'll take
that.
19 out then.
Okay. Anyway, I'll just make a motion.
Yeah, let's take 19 off.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to take that one out and then we go by each one of these because it's kind of confusing?
Yeah, I'm good taking 19.
Okay, let's take
So
19
19
out.
is not a part of this in Globo.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll support this in Globo, but I did want to just comment. I'm supporting the MLK Food Desert Project to continue to review it and understand it better and get some more detail. There's no, just to remind everybody, there's no funding associated with it at this point.
It's a
We're just
resolution.
continuing to evaluate. So, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Hopkins.
Now, mine was that I'll support the concept. I do not support the $2 million unless there could be a payback shown on the property.
$2 million not on the table yet.
So, yeah, it's a $2 million ask, so I'd like to see a payback before I vote for an ordinance on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson?
There is a resolution for this, right? Because I don't see the resolution. So there is a.
It's resolution
67.
Mine doesn't come up as a resolution. It comes up as an executive summary.
Yeah.
Y'all got a resolution?
Yeah, it says resolution.
I have a resolution.
Oh,
Right. I'm just saying it's
Oh,
not
you're
a
talking about
resolution
the
attached.
resolution itself.
Yeah.
The resolution was distributed as a hard copy
That's
the
what it
other
was.
day.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Got it.
I can
Well, just
go get
in the
that.
minutes or whatnot, just make sure we attach that.
It is, yes. You received it in a print form.
Right. That way people will know that what they're voting on and stuff. So, thank you.
Mr. Clerk, if you would, repeat what we are voting on now.
Yes.
I've really been down here since.
In the meantime, Commissioner Johnson, you got
I've really been here since.
Yeah, I just was gonna,
I'm sorry, I thought you were requesting me to go get a copy of that
Oh, no.
resolution.
No,
You were saying to
no.
repeat what we're voting on now is to englobe. I realized as soon as I walked out the room, sorry. Sorry, Commissioner, sound travel's funny. But thank you very much. We are voting on an englobo of the three resolutions that you see before you. That is Resolution 64, 65, 67, and the approval of the 20.1, which is accepting the recommendations of the Alcoholic Beverage Committee. And those are the four items that are in this englobo.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
oh, you take me out.
Okay, well,
She came back.
okay, in that case, we can vote.
All right. Okay, that motion carries with 9 in support, 2 in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us now to the end of the year appointments. Now, just to clarify, we did have some discussion a moment ago, and this is a relatively long list, and just up front, I will say that during this meeting, I have received a number of suggestions for people to add to various appointments. I have a note of those, and if those are something that y'all did want to consider, though they will need to be considered, additional to what's printed here, because they're not printed here. But I think if I understood Commissioner Johnson's motion, that might not be a problem.
Okay, and also, you said that you had additional people to be added here?
Additional names have been submitted today during the meeting, but they've not been added here on paper yet, and because they haven't been voted upon.
Okay, Commissioner Blake had asked a question in the committee meeting. At what point can you make recommendations to be added as a consideration on these boards? And between now and the next meetings, you can have a recommendation on. Okay, it'll be added at that time.
Thank you for
Okay,
explaining.
you're welcome. Okay, with that in mind, let's see here. Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Looking at, the motion will be to appoint or reappoint people to the 2023 end of the year appointment, first of the year appointments, and the first section of the old appointments that were never filled or reappointed, down to Charles Reynolds, and then the Children Disaster Response Committee, the Children Youth Planning Board, and the Charter Review Committee will be made with the new term next year.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Commissioner Johnson motion and Commissioner John Paul Young seconded. We can vote?
And that motion carries with 9 in support, 1 in opposition, and 2 absent. That brings us now to your second section of communiques and reports.
Okay, the second session, is anyone,
Did we-
Commissioner Johnson?
Did we? Okay, that's all right. You did?
Yeah, the
Did I miss
alcohol-
something?
The alcohol,
Yeah, that was in the
That was included in the envelope.
okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas if I don't see you. Might see you at the bowl game, but if I don't see you, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
All right. Yeah. Is anyone else? If not, I would like to do the same thing, and I'll spare you all with my my Christmas story this year.
You want me to do mine?
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. The word on the street is there may be a little elf that's going to be putting some items in y'all's boxes over the next week or so. It's a party-neutral elf.
It's green.
He loves all men and women of the parish.
Now, according to how much it is, it may be.
But anyway, so take a look at your box in the next few days. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, again, I would like to thank you for this year, I guess. I think we accomplished quite a bit. There was some controversy. We're always going to have that, but, you know, it's kind of like herding cats. But you all have been a good group, and I appreciate it. A good group of cats. Yeah. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take this time. Don't know, how much further I'll go past this point. It's my prayer that the Lord will spare me another opportunity to continue to serve. But I have enjoyed my time here on the Caddo Parish Commission. I've made some friends and established some new relationships, and I thank God for it. I don't know what may happen in the future, but that's in His will and not in mine. My prayer is for those that are coming in and starting this opportunity, for those of you that are going to continue to work on this board, that we would continue to do the will of the people and make sure that we find ways to do outside of the status quo. We don't have to carry ourselves the way the majority of the country is doing. We don't have to fall into the trap of social media that continues to divide us on the far ends of the spectrum. Let's just continue to be decent human beings and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And I think if we get more to doing that, we'll do a better job of listening to one another and finding solutions to help this parish. I love this place where I live. There are good days and bad days, but I think the good outweighs the bad, and I want to continue to live here and raise my children here. And so I pray that whatever happens past this point, that it is for the betterment of Caddo Parish. So thank you all for being so kind, for all of you that have mentored and helped out on both sides of the aisle. I've had some great mentors and have gained new friends. And so I hope that we can all keep in touch. And, you don't ignore my call when I give you a phone call. So thank you and God bless you.
All right, Commissioner Chavez, I think I saw you. Are you off? Okay, we have another meeting. Hopefully we'll see all of you again the first of the year before we depart. It appears that we had a late comment, a late public comment, and that's from Ms. Treadwell. If you would like, Ms. Treadwell?
Point of order.
Yes.
She was here at the beginning. She spoke. So we don't allow the citizens to come back and speak again the second time unless they was late. That's the reason for a late arrival.
Okay. Well, what is the...
President, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules and allow our citizen that's in her chamber, our chamber, to speak. If I can get a second.
Going by the rules.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Unanimous vote? We're good. Yes, Ms. Treadwell.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. First, I want to apologize if I even implied that there was intentionality related to the voting and y'all's intention. I was trying to express my concerns about And there's nothing more important than our vote in terms of how we live our lives in our communities. That's our biggest way to communicate our desires in our representative government. So I apologize if I came off as saying that y'all had intention about doing that. In fact, I learned at that, watching y'all talk earlier this week, that that wasn't the case, that the date was already assigned. So I want to make that on the official record, that I acknowledge that there was no planning on your part for that. What I was interested in finding out was the date that the decisions were made to move things away from polling places, and I appreciate that, because we can't measure that, but there could be influences on large numbers of people around polling places. Just from my heart, I want to say that it's important to me that y'all know that what I was concerned when I listened to your meeting from Tuesday was that I didn't see the concern from y'all, that it was a big deal. And not just to me or another person, but as a community, that y'all as elected officials hold those things very important and take them seriously, and not just say, oh, that's not important. That was the thing I was trying to say. And again, I appreciate that y'all actually did respond and whatever happened to make that change. And I wanted to separate that from concern for people in need, which I think every one of us here, when we show up to things like this, we care about our community. So of course we want to help people in need. The race issues, I mean, I can't understand what someone else lives through, whether they're black or white. That's not my life. But I can have empathy for it, and I can listen. And unless we all do that, I mean, just listening to y'all talk early in the week, I felt degraded. And then the way some of y'all spoke about me here today to my face, I felt the same way. And my hope and prayer is that we can talk to each other with respect and empathy, and that's why I am humbly asking your forgiveness. If I implied on an official record that y'all intentionally did something wrong on voting day, I apologize, and I do not believe that. I've learned from you, and I want to thank you again for this opportunity to talk to you.
Move to adjourn.
Ms. Treadwell, we thank you for that, heartfelt comment, and we understand where you are.
Move to adjourn.
We adjourn.